Hello, everybody. I'm Joan Turner, and this is Deb Carpenter. And welcome to the Intuitive Body and Soul. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a ukulele fan. And the Ukulele Kids Club is one of our favorite charities to give to. So I'm super excited today that we have the founder of the Ukulele Kids Club. His name is Corey Bergman, and we also have his publicist. We have Stephanie Epstein with us. Okay. So a little bit of backstory. Okay, today the UKC is an international charity that's helped thousands of children around the world to overcome stress, anxiety, health challenges. And these are some pretty serious health challenges. Okay, challenges of serious health conditions, but started out with the simple idea of giving back. Now, Corey Bergman suffered a personal loss, and so we're not going to go through that story with him today. We don't want him to have to relive all of that, but his story is available on his TED Talk. He actually won a TED Talk. Let me make sure I have it right. TEDx Coconut Grove Award in 2016. So as a person on that show, he does go through his story. So we'll make sure the link to that if you want to know more about his background. But today we just kind of want to talk about what's going on there and the good work that they're doing. All right. He also appeared on NBC's Nightly News in 2015. His TED Talk got over 3,000 views, so it's very widely viewed. Right. So yeah, I can't say that so well. Okay. They have hospitals. They are affiliated with over 250 hospitals, hospital-based music therapy programs. Let me say that again. In the US and internationally, including Canada, France, Japan, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and the United Kingdom. Okay. To date, more than 9,500 ukuleles have been gifted to hospitalized children. And I want to say it's probably even more now because I think this was like 2016. There's a lot of information. Okay, Corey's son is Jared. Okay, and they started a musical fellowship, a music therapy fellowship in Lakeland, Florida, and this was in 2018. So, in addition to donating the namesake instruments to the music therapy programs at hundreds of hospitals in the US and abroad, the Ukulele Kids Club now expands its support of music therapy with the first ever Jared Bergman Fellowship. Inaugural fellowship provides $10,000 in funding for music therapy fellow at Riley Hospital for children in Indianapolis, Indiana. The Riley Cheer Guild provides financial support for music therapy programs at the Riley Hospital for Children and will match the UKC's donation. Okay, so they do a lot of very awesomely good stuff, and we're going to include like lots of links because this is one very active young man here. Him and his wife, Corey and his wife Etta, founded this foundation. Okay, and also we're going to have with us Stephanie Epstein, as mentioned before, and she's a music therapist, and she was educated at Nazareth College. Um, she was hired at, I actually have some information on her. Okay, so she was hired as a music therapist at the Holtz Children's Hospital in Miami, and I think that she's still there. We'll have to find out for sure. But when she was hired, and that was like in 2014, she was tasked with building a music therapy program, like from the ground up, which was a yeah, huge. So she actually introduced something called Songs from the Heart, a program called Songs from the Heart. So we're going to ask her a little bit more about that as well. So there's a lot of cool things going on here. So without further ado, let us bring our guests on. Welcome to Corey and Stephanie. So, welcome, Corey and Stephanie. And we are so excited to have the both of you on here. So we want to kind of start with Corey as the founder. We were reading that you and Etta founded the Ukulele Kids Club, and that you did it through trying to heal from your own personal experience, which where we have a TEDx talk. If people want to know more about that backstory, they can go there and see it. But we want to know from you what you did, what the Ukulele Kids Club is, and it doesn't have to be all in that order, but talk to us. Tell us. Tell us
Okay, I'll give you the background for all this, and then I'll let Stephanie tell you what we really do.
what we really do. I
Okay,
love it.
so when Etta and I moved to Florida from New York City back in 2012, I hung around for a little while and I decided to go to a children's hospital in Miami. And I bought a guitar there and I wanted to, I love music. I wanted to share a little bit of music. There
So
was no
so
music.
why? Why bring the music there? Did you feel it was too quiet? It needed a facelift?
You saw my TED talk, didn't you?
I did, I did.
Okay, so I went into the hospital. It was really too quiet for me.
So you
And
brought your guitar in
I
there.
brought my guitar down to the family resource center at a hospital in Miami. And, it was a serious place. The parents are down there and some kids that could get out of their rooms come down. It's not a happy place. And that was kind of a shocking thing for me to go into, an area like this I've never been in anyway. I brought a guitar in one day and I just started making a little noise and playing. And I saw there was a big lift in the spirit of
The
the room.
energy changes, right?
Exactly. And I really didn't know what I was doing, except I was trying to have some fun with everybody. And that's what happened. And along the way, because there was no music therapy in either of the two hospitals that I went to, and I didn't even know anything about music therapy other than there was that profession. I had the fortune of being allowed to go into the units myself.
So
Um,
how were you allowed? Did you like call them and say, "Can I bring my guitar and walk through the halls?" And
No, Joan, what I did was I volunteered as a hospital volunteer. I had time and
oh,
I wanted to
okay,
get down
right,
and do it.
right, okay.
And in the interview about what to do, they just felt that it would be good for me to just mingle around. And, the guitar just was a natural thing for me to do. And it was a very,
Sure, sure.
very easy thing to do. So I started playing guitar on the units. And I'm not great, but I'm better than anybody that was on the units. So I would go around and play very quietly. I knew that it would be nice to just play soft, soothing kind of music. I just knew that intuitively. I wasn't trained. Stephanie warned me later on that I could have hurt somebody, but I didn't. And as I went around, I met some kids. The real genesis of the whole thing was that one little guy who was in the middle of his treatment asked to play my guitar. He was a guitar
Cool.
player and he said, can I try this guitar? And so I took the guitar off my shoulders and I put it into his hands in bed. And he was really excited and he went and he put his arms around that guitar and he winced in pain because he was hooked up to IVs and his various treatments. And so it didn't take me too long to think about, how music is so helpful to some kids. What other instrument could be easier than holding a big guitar?
Right.
Tuba? No. Saxophone? No. But a ukulele was in the office down where I used to, start the day. And I brought it up and I started to take ukuleles with me to the units and, hand them over to some of the kids. It was real easy for them to play. You guys know ukuleles and you know what a joy it is to play.
I bet.
And, we got such a great response that Etta and I decided we would go buy some ukuleles from a local music store and hand them out to some kids because why not? It was just a joyous thing to do. So we bought, maybe 10 or 12 ukuleles. And over the course of maybe a month or so, I handed out ukuleles to some of the kids. And it was an immediate happy feeling to see them play. the parents that are in the rooms, and again, you're in a really serious situation, but the parents were kind of magnetically drawn over to the beds and sang and played with the kids. And that was the genesis of the club. We started to tell some friends what we were doing, that we bought ukuleles for some kids in the hospital, and they thought it was a great idea, and they started giving us money to help buy them, to help fund them. We never asked, but
You didn't have to. It took
never
on
asked.
a momentum of its own.
Joan, Deb, I never asked for donation in 7 years, believe it or not.
I
It was just a,
totally believe it.
it was
Now, my
crazy.
question to you is, how did you know how to play a ukulele? I'm
I
still trying
don't
to learn.
play. This is a secret.
Oh,
No, nobody except for Stephanie and some of the folks that I work with here. Don't tell anybody, but I am the worst ukulele player in the nation.
no. You haven't heard me play.
It's a
My
great,
only claim to claim is they haven't thrown me out yet, you know?
yeah, well, nobody knows that, so don't tell anybody. This is not live, right?
No, nothing like that. No one will
Edit this,
know.
edit this. So basically, that's what happened.
And then it took on a momentum of its own because your tagline is music heals. And it really does. It really does because I mean, it's at a higher frequency and everyone can relate to music on some level. Tones. Yeah, absolutely.
Let me tell you something interesting, and then Steffi can take this over. But what happened was, so we started to use the money to buy ukuleles, and we started to donate them to hospitals. And so after about 8 or 10 months, it got around the music therapy world because we started donating, hoping that a music therapist would actually know what to do with the instruments. Somebody made a donation to us of some very beautiful, rare instruments.
Wow.
And at the same time, I had met Stephanie. Stephanie sent an email to me asking would we like to help donate some ukuleles to her hospital. But since I only lived about 15 miles from Holtz Children's Hospital, I said, yes, can I bring them with me to meet you? So I went to the facility where Stephanie was working. I never met a music therapist. I didn't know anything about music therapy at the time. And Stephanie took me by the hand and took me into this facility, which I will let her tell you about. And my mind exploded because what she does and what this incredible profession does, where the ukuleles are really the tool for all the work that we do. So from that day on, and that was in 2014.
Yeah.
Stephanie became my mentor. Of course, I'm not a music therapy. I never will be, but she opened up the doors for us to realize that we could do a lot more than just the instrument itself.
I was just going to say, when you come across someone who really kind of knows what they're doing, then it opens up a whole new world for you. And Stephanie, we were noticing that you have a master's degree, that you are Nazareth College,
Yeah.
and when you started at Holt, they had no music therapist, no music
No,
therapy program at
no.
all, and you were tasked with creating one out of the blue. What was
Yeah.
that like? That had to be like the most amazing. And you were what, 26, I think Corey said, were you?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Oh my God.
Yep.
So tell us.
So I did my undergrad degree up at Nazareth College in Rochester, New York. I'm originally from upstate New York,
Nice.
and I double majored in music therapy and music education up there. I worked in special education for a little while before I received an offer from the University of Miami for a teaching assistantship for my master's. So we moved down to South Florida. I'd never been down here before, but we came down, and I did my master's at And the last semester of my master's degree, you do a clinical rotation, and it can be anywhere you want. And because if we're already board certified at that point, so we can be out working. So I'd done my internship back after my undergrad at a children's hospital up in Rochester, Golisano Children's Hospital, and I knew that I wanted to be in pediatrics. That was my passion. That's where I wanted to be. So I started looking around at children's hospitals in the area in Miami and found Holtz Children's Hospital and saw that they didn't have a music therapy program. So I did my clinical rotation there, my last semester of my graduate degree. And so I was there 5 hours a week. And pretty much as soon as I got there, I was like, okay, who do I need to talk to? I talked to anyone and everyone who would listen to me. It didn't matter who they were. Yeah. I talked to them.
I love it.
And then at the end of the semester, I put together a program proposal. I'd kept data on all the patients that I'd been seeing, in addition to all the patients that I had been referred to me who I hadn't gotten to see. So I could say, look, only being here 5 hours a week, this is what I was able to see. So this is what a 10-hour program could look like, a 20-hour, a 30-hour, a 40-hour. And I put together a program proposal. Wow. Now, at the same time, simultaneously, there was the Jackson Pediatric Center, which is the facility Corey was talking about. It's a pediatric prescribed extended care facility, a PPEC. They're all over the country, and they're basically like medical daycares. So they're facilities where children can go who have chronic and ongoing and medical complications that would require that one-on-one nursing. But they can go to these facilities where they can get all their therapies. They have physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. There's a teacher there. They can get the socialization aspect. So they had gotten a grant to start a music therapy program. So, I already had my foot in the door with Jackson Health System. So I applied for that and got that position. So I started that program first, doing individual and group sessions with mostly little bitties. So when Corey said that he walked into this facility and had never seen anything like it, he truly means that. It is,
it was unique. So
a bunch
did you reach out to him? How did you?
I did.
How had you heard of him?
So I had heard about the Ukulele Kids Club just from other music therapists that I knew. Had been talking about it. So I reached out and I said, introduced myself, and I said, I'm not in a children's hospital per se, but I am working with medically fragile children that is part of the children's hospital. Would you be willing to donate some ukuleles for us to use at the center? So that's when he came down and saw about 22, 3, and 4-year-olds just running around like crazy. So I started the program there. Pretty much as soon as I started there, I started talking to everyone up at the hospital on the other side of campus, saying like, "Hi, remember me? I'm here." And I was really lucky that that people were in the position that they were. A couple of the doctors that I had formed relationships with, a couple of the administrators, that I had really wonderful people on my side advocating for me and found a way to make it work. Nice. So about 6 months after I started at the PPEC, I was brought on full time to start the inpatient program. So for about a year and a half, I split my time half and half between the medical facility and developing the inpatient music therapy program. So yeah, it was a lot of trial and error.
I bet. Yeah.
A lot of really just, it was a lot of advocacy, a lot of education, a lot of in-services, and showing the data, showing the data that I was collecting, showing the research. And I like to say that I advocated to the point of being obnoxious.
Good girl. I love her. So what kind of data are you accumulating? How do you know what works and what doesn't work? I mean, other than like a reaction, like Corey going through the hallways and getting a physical reaction from people, like, yeah, they like this, or it touches them. What kind of data? What are you looking for when you create a music program or therapy?
So if any of the patients that are hooked up to vitals monitors, I'm constantly monitoring their vitals to see if is their heart rate lowering, is their oxygen saturation increasing. So keeping stats on all of that at all times, and always.
But like while you're singing and playing to them, and just monitoring how it's affecting them, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
We always say as a music therapist, we're typically doing about 15 things at once in our head.
Well, I'm lucky I could do 1 or 2. Never mind 15.
But tracking pain scores. So, asking what their pain is at the beginning of the session, at the middle of the session, at the end of the session, so we can see how their pain perception decreases just from the beginning of the session to the end, which are all of the data that I've collected just in my program have all been statistically significant results, which are really exciting.
Really?
I'm a stats, I'm a numbers person, so I have lots of Excel spreadsheets.
Good girl, I love it. So they would start, so when you first start playing, you say to them, what's your pain level?
If that's why if I'm being referred to them, or if they have an order placed because of their pain or because of their symptoms, then yes. Yep. Just like a nurse.
Halfway through, you check it again, and then at the end,
Yep.
how you doing?
Yep.
Wow.
Just like,
And
just like their nurses and the doctors come in and say, rating your scale rating your pain on the typical, 10-point scale, the Wong Faces scale. We use all of the same instruments that the medical team does.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. Very cool, very cool. So, so now you work with Corey. Are you still at the hospital? Yes?
I am full time at the hospital.
Full time at the hospital. So what do you do for our man over here?
So I started out with just kind of working with Corey, and like he said, I kind of became his go-to for all things music therapy. So at first I was his unofficial music therapy advisor, and then I became the official music therapy advisor. I then
He knows what's good. He knows what to jump on there.
became the vice president and director of music therapy for the organization, and then was moved up to president of the organization. So I'm one of the faces of the organization to talk to beautiful people like you.
Well, thank you.
And really also be able to be the bridge between the organization of the Ukulele Kids Club and the music therapy world, because I kind of have my feet on, straddling both sides of the line. So, being able to work with the music therapists and saying, hey, we have all of these incredible resources. And hey, here are things that at least I've found in my practice that's been really helpful. I teach a number of master classes on how to utilize the ukulele in the clinical setting beyond just playing it as an accompaniment instrument. I've taught a number of continuing education courses for music therapists. So doing a lot of that education and the advocacy.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Now, obviously, just playing the ukulele, I play the ukulele. It's a lot of fun. It definitely raises your vibration, blah, blah. But how does it apply to music therapy? How do you know what song to play? How does it work? How does it connect?
This is a 4-hour interview, right?
No, definitely. So when you're playing though, right?
Good,
You're playing, is there a certain, like, if they're agitated, do you play a slow, soothing song? How do you know what to do?
So it is completely individualized based on the patient that we're working with. So that's one of the reasons why, building that therapeutic rapport with the patients is so important, so that A, there's that level of trust, but B, also you're getting to know them and what what works for them, what doesn't work for them, because what's relaxing for one person is going to be extremely irritating for the next. Music is so powerful, and we're only just beginning to understand it, through medical technology and fMRIs and being able to see what's happening in our brain when we're listening to music. But there's still so much that we don't know. And I don't think we'll ever know, because music hits in that emotional center of our brain, where you can hear a song and you get chills, or you tear up, or you have a visceral reaction.
Yes.
And and music can be so powerful in terms of bringing back memories as well, both positive but also negative as well. So I mean, I've been in sessions where the patient has had a negative reaction, and I've triggered them in some way, obviously not meaning to,
right?
But it happens.
Yeah.
It happens, especially when you're working with patients who've experienced any sort of trauma, whether it's prolonged trauma or whether it was, an accident that brought them into the hospital. So being able to recognize that and being able to process that and being able to work through that with them is so, so important, and really just reiterates the importance of just that continuous ongoing assessment on what's going on and how the patient is reacting to what you're doing in the moment.
So if they do have a negative reaction or you've triggered a negative reaction, is that a good thing because you brought it to the surface and now we can talk through it? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yes to both.
Deb's looking at me like, must you? Yes.
It can be both. It can be a good thing if it's something that they're ready and that you have that relationship and you have that trust with that, and then that you as a therapist are capable of handling that and containing that and helping them through that. But if they're not ready and they kind of go all the way to pure panic, that's obviously not a good thing. But that's also where we understand and we need to be very careful of what our scope of practice is, because there are things that are going to come up that, while I have a lot of training, is beyond my scope of training. And that's where I would call in the psychologist.
Okay.
And I would call in other people who have that training to be able to work with, to be able to help contain those, or we would co-treat with a session. We would work together in the same session so that we could utilize the music that's bringing those emotions out, but also then have someone there to help them process it in a way that that they're trained to do.
That like totally makes sense. So, which is a good thing because I have to process all this stuff.
Yeah.
So when you're working with Corey, he's a resource to bring in ukuleles and so on and so forth.
Yes. Yeah.
I see, I see.
And I love what Corey mentioned earlier and said that the ukulele is the tool, because it truly is. And it's really, really incredible to see these children and these teenagers when they start to play and they start to learn these songs, because it really is a very simple instrument to play. You can play a lot of chords with one finger or adapted to one finger, and you can play tons of songs. So all of a sudden, in just within one session, they're already playing songs.
Play.
And just to see them sit up and just their affect light up, and they're not grimacing anymore, they're not laying back or fatigued, and they're smiling and they're engaging, and their parents, like Corey mentioned, the family too, that's one other big thing that we don't really talk about enough, is that impact that it has on the parents.
Yeah.
And to be able to see your child sit up and just become, I've had a lot of parents say, you brought my kid back. Like this brought my kid back. This is them. I haven't seen them be them in a week or 2 weeks or however long it's been. So that's really incredible too, just to see the impact on the family. But especially when we get to the end of the session, and usually by the end, they're already saying, where can I get one of these? Or let me go on Amazon, try to find one. And then when I get to tell them, actually, this is yours.
This one.
This is yours to keep. I've just, the look of just pure joy is just, I wish that I could capture it so that everybody could see it and experience it, because it is just the most incredible thing. I've had patients cry because they can't believe that this beautiful instrument is now theirs to keep, and to keep throughout their admission, but also then to take home with them, for them to keep playing and keep learning. And when I have kids come,
how long is a typical session? Or do you just have one session? Do you have a bunch of sessions? Corey, do you ever go in and talk to these people? What happens here?
Well, Steph, tell her what your schedule looks like and how you actually are. This is an amazing thing for me to understand, that Stephanie is a staff member, just like the anesthesiologist or anybody else there.
Right.
She's a therapist as part of the hospital staff,
Right.
and she'll tell you that she gets assigned. Well, go ahead, tell her what your crazy day is like.
Yeah, so a lot of people ask, like, oh, what's your day typically look like as a music therapist? And I'm like, there's no such thing as a typical day. That's funny. Because I mean, just today alone, I had 25 patients on my caseload. which obviously is physically impossible to
Yeah, I
get
was gonna
to.
say, how do you even do that?
Uh,
Do you have other, now, I read that they hired other therapists. Are they therapists that you've trained and all of that good
so,
stuff?
so we have one other full-time music therapist that I work with, but she's full-time in our neonatal intensive care unit with our premature infants. So I'm the only one in just in pediatrics. So it's a lot of, I have to prioritize and see, who haven't I seen in a while, who is having, like any acute pain crisis, who just had surgery, who maybe just came in and just got a new diagnosis, who's been struggling with things a lot. So, that prioritization on top of when I get called for procedures, because I do a lot of procedural support going into the rooms with the doctors and nurses while they're doing, any sort of procedure where the patient's going to be awake. So I do a lot of that. And then of course, unfortunately, it is a hospital. So we do deal with a lot of end of life and bereavement. So, when things like that come up, obviously those types of things are priority.
Sure.
Those are a drop everything and go type situation. But to answer your session question, typically, I mean, I strive to see them at least a few times a week. It's definitely not a one time, okay, here's a ukulele, here's some chords, okay, bye.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not that's not what this instrument, and that's not what this organization and this program is for. It is to utilize the ukulele to create that lasting therapeutic change. So being able to work with them over multiple times throughout not only that admission but subsequent admissions too. I have a lot of kids who come in and out of the hospital for years, and every time they come back they bring their ukulele because they know that they're going to get to play, and
Yes.
they show me what they've been working on and what they've been practicing. And so I have kids that I've worked with for 4, 5, 6 years,
Wow.
and gotten to really kind of watch them grow up. And
Do you get personally attached to them at that point? If you're
Interesting
spending
oh,
question.
4 and 5 years, how do you not, right?
oh, of course. I mean, and that's the part of why, how one of the reasons why music therapy can be so effective is because of that. You create that therapeutic rapport and that therapeutic bond
Relationship.
between yourself and the patient and the family too, because some of these kids are in for weeks, months at a time, and they live in the hospital, not only the kid but the parents too.
Wow.
So they're away from their other kids, they're away from their spouse, they're away from their job. So, they need people to talk to as
I
well.
think
And
I think what you do is so, so important. The name of our show is Intuitive Body and Soul, and it really tries to balance the physical with the spiritual part.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what you're doing. Western medicine always kind of takes care of the physical. Do you know what I mean? But no one bothers to take care of the inside, the spirit of the person. And that's what you're doing. And that I think is so important.
Mhm.
So we want to know more about your heartbeat songs.
Oh.
Those we want to know more about how you started doing that, and then we want to go back to Corey, and I want to find out what he's doing during his retirement.
Okay.
So useful, we hope.
So the heartbeat songs, I cannot take credit for that. I never would. One of a music therapist up in, I believe he was in Cincinnati at the time. His name's Brian Schreck. There is actually a full-length documentary out on, and of course now the name is escaping me. But if you look up Brian Schreck and heartbeat songs, you'll find it. But he has a full-length documentary on utilizing the heartbeat song with in adult oncology.
Okay.
That kind of spearheaded this heartbeat recording program. So when I started the music therapy program at Holtz, I contacted him and kind of, powwowed with him and said, what's the best way to do this? So we started a program at our hospital. But the other cool piece of it is that we work very closely. We're part of the pediatric palliative care team. So through them, we get these all these different stuffed animals that have recordable hearts inside of them.
Oh,
So So then what we do is we can put the patient's heartbeat or their heartbeat song inside the stuffed animal that the parents and the families can choose. So they have that physical thing to take home with them. And when they squeeze it, they can hear their child's heartbeat.
Wow.
So, so we utilize a stethoscope microphone. Now there are very fancy recordable digital stethoscopes that are lots of hundreds of dollars. Mine is a $30 lapel mic that I shoved inside of a cutoff stethoscope.
That's excellent. I love it.
But it works.
It works.
So it gets plugged into one of our laptops, and so we record the patient's heartbeat. And through using music editing software, we can then edit it, get any background sounds out, and make sure we get a nice, clean, beautiful recording. So then, if either the family or the patient themselves want to then put a song with it, they can let us know. And maybe it's already a recorded song that means a lot to them. That's the easy part. Okay, cool. We just mix it together.
Yeah.
But sometimes they want to write a song. So we've worked with both the patients sometimes or the families to write original songs to go along with their heartbeat to create this heartbeat song. And their heartbeat sets the tempo and sets the beat for the song.
Yeah, we were listening to it, and I'm because the first few seconds is just the heartbeat, and I'm listening to that. And Debbie said, "That's the heartbeat. That's a heart," and I'm like, "It's a heartbeat, yeah." It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
What we were reading.
Yeah,
You either connect it to a song or you write a song with the family or the patient.
Yeah. And a lot of times we do use it for end of life situations. But it isn't always though. We actually, I've done a number of heartbeat recordings with some of my heart transplant patients. I had one patient a few years ago that we did a recording of her transplanted heart, her new heart.
I love
And we wrote a song in her music therapy sessions as a letter to her donor's
Oh
family.
my God, that's
That
fantastic.
was so nice.
And thanking them for their donation and what she wanted to do and how she was going to honor their
That had to be very
Gift.
meaningful.
it
Yeah,
was
that's a nice thank you gift for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So
And
whose
then,
idea was that, Stephanie?
well, that was my idea.
That was your idea. We knew you were behind there somewhere.
And then of course, our one of our UKC kids, Tatiana, who is kind of all over our social media right now. She's one of my current patients, and she's waiting for her heart transplant. So we recorded her heartbeat song, and she recorded a cover of "Lovely" by Billie Eilish. And so when she gets her heart transplant, we will put the recording of her heartbeat song into her heartbeat animal. So there's a hippo. So her hippo will get her old heart when she gets her new heart.
Unbelievable.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a very long ongoing project.
Yeah, but very well worth it. And obviously it makes a big difference to not only the patient, but like you said, their families.
Oh my
Because
gosh, yes.
yeah,
Yes, I do hospice, and I know that relating to my patient is one thing, but also you get involved in a lot of family issues, and it requires a lot of talking and just making them understand what's going on with their loved one. Um, it's intense at times, really,
yeah, I bet.
really.
So
Very.
I want to harass Corey a little bit longer and say, now that you're retired, how are you contributing to everything Miss Stephanie is doing?
About what Miss Stephanie is doing. Can you see why we have this organization?
Yeah,
So-
you have this organization, and we saw that you had a fellowship in
Yeah.
Jared's name, and that
Yeah.
you have a list of upcoming events that
We got a
Debbie
lot of
has
stuff.
here.
Let
So
me tell you what I'm doing. A lot of what I do on the beach because that's where I do all of my stuff.
that's
But
great.
so let me tell you, now that I was able to step down as CEO, and we have Maureen who's come in and working with Stephanie, I'm looking back and I'm realizing the organization is 7 years old now, and I just can't believe it. 7 years
Wow.
old. Stephanie and I and a couple of friends started this thing. And 7 years later, we've donated, I think we're going to go over 10,000 instruments in the next month or so. I think we're
Getting very close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I saw.
10,000 kids and their families we've actually made a difference in. We are in, I think, over 200 or 230 hospitals worldwide.
250. Over 250, my dear.
Joni, worldwide.
I-
We are in 6 or 7 countries. We started a program outside. I'm just so proud of everybody. And what I basically do is this. We're a grassroots organization. We're a small little peanut of an organization because we're all friends. Everybody in the organization, and there's thousands of them now because we got lucky with social media and some national news pieces years ago when Steffi and I started this. But now I have personal friendships that I've developed with the social media people, and all of them have become donor friends of mine. So what I really do is I'm always going to be deeply behind the development aspect of the organization, but through friends and more friends. And can I throw out a shout out to Snug and tell you guys
Of
how we
course, you
started?
can throw out a Snug is my home away
Well,
from home.
I think that some of these crazies are your audience, but I want to give a shout out because for the,
What do you mean crazies? Yes.
so for the people that know you guys, so in 2014, October, I was telling you earlier, I got a call from this guy, Dan Mathis.
He's the founder of Snug.
I know. He calls me up and he said, Corey, we love what you're doing. He read about us in one of the magazines and he said, would you like to come to New Hampshire? We do a luau every year
February, in the
February in New Hampshire. And it's a little cold, but would you like to come up? We're very interested in helping sponsor your organization. So I thanked Dan profusely. And I said, no, there's no way I'm going to New Hampshire for a luau. And so,
especially in February. Yeah.
yeah, right. And also, I didn't really know what was going to be involved and what these guys did at Snug. So I met June Pinkham and Dan and Tom Duffy and a whole slew of all of you guys. And the first luau that you guys did for us raised something close to $2,000.
It was amazing.
So I couldn't believe it. And I told Dan after that, I said, you know what? I'm going to come up next year. And I did. And I went up to New Hampshire next year with Etta. And this organization, craziest bunch of people you'll ever meet, doing luau's in the middle of February with the luau, with the Hawaiian shirts and everything. These guys, and Joan, you're a part of this, have raised over $70,000.
Absolutely.
Ukulele Kids Club, and we're our very first sponsors.
I totally knew that. And you are now our official charity. We used to kind of pick and choose and blah, blah, blah. And, I said to June, I said, why are we picking and choosing? We're the ukulele. And she's like, yeah, she said, this should be our charity. I said, absolutely.
So imagine being me now. Now I've got 200 friends in New Hampshire for 7 years, and we've got all this presence all over the country. And since we're small, and since basically Stephanie and I are the face of the organization, everybody likes us.
That's
so
right. We like you.
I am busy talking to friends all day and, just people want to do events for us and this and that. And it's just, I am having a ball. And now Marlene takes care of all the stuff that I used to do. And it's great.
So what you're telling us is that you're the PR guy and Marlene and Stephanie do all the work.
Yeah, I mean, basically, right? It's not even PR. It's just.
That's right. Leave it to the women.
It's not even PR. It's just, Ed and I started this thing, and it's still a grassroots organization. We're looking hopefully to get some sponsors from some corporate sponsors and stuff. But
Yeah.
that's really not where we're at yet. We're just, and we've raised about $1,200,000 on grassroots donations.
Yeah, I think the key word here is yet. We did a whole mini chat on the word yet. And when you do that, that opens up all the possibilities. You were
Yeah.
talking about your hospitals. Ukulele Kids Club works with more than 250 hospital-based music therapy programs in the US and internationally, including Canada, France, Japan, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and the United Kingdom. To date, more than 9,500 ukuleles have been gifted to hospitalized children.
Yeah, that's
So,
fun.
see, you're even better than you thought. And this report, I think, came out like in 2018 when we looked at it. So it's probably even more now. So you guys are fantastic for, like you said, a grassroots type of a situation. It has
Yeah.
it started off with good energy and good feeling, and it came out of a healing to begin with. So the trajectory, yeah, it comes from the heart. So the trajectory had to be the way that it is, and it just get better from here.
So Joan, thank you. Let me tell you a little bit about the fellowship in honor
I
of
would
our
love to
son.
know more about it. And that
Yeah, yeah,
was in 2018 as well, yes?
yeah. So we were trying to imagine a way to sustain the organization other than just by donating ukuleles. I mean, you can raise a certain amount of money with
Yeah,
ukuleles, and that's really our always going to be our drive here. But since Stephanie taught me so much about music therapy, and I see the value of what the music therapist can do here, so we came up with a fellowship, which
yes.
Stephanie helped to author the criteria. And last year, we placed our first Jared Bergman Fellow at Riley Children's Hospital. Woo, I'm getting a little emotional, but that's a big deal. And
It is.
Steph, why don't you tell them a little bit about what the fellowship entails?
Yeah,
Please.
so the fellowship, it's a one year position, and really aimed at newer professionals. So we kind of see it as a way for newer professionals to kind of get their feet wet, get really immersed in the pediatric world, and working under, of course, fantastic supervisors to really get that extra
Sure,
training
sure.
before they go out into the world. But then also acting as an ambassador for the Ukulele Kids Club. So they come to conferences with us. They're doing social media things. They're doing different videos, helping create resources. So giving back to the organization as well. But of course, also providing music therapy services on the units, because I mean, that's the thing, is that, you can have a billion ukuleles, but if you only have 200 music therapists, we can only see so many kids in a day. So that's really where this fellowship came from, was Corey and Etta saying, like, look, yes, the ukuleles are the tools, but we need someone to use the tools to help the kids.
People.
So that's really where the fellowship came from. And we have, our goal is to have, I believe we're getting close to having another fellow officially placed for 2020, and have some other potentially exciting things coming on the pipeline as well for the Jared Fellowship. But I mean, given if we had, millions upon millions of dollars, I'm not sorry, I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when. I'm going to
We don't have
speak
it yet.
into
We don't have it yet.
I'm going to speak it into existence, into the universe.
I love it.
Um,
I love it.
when we can have, multiple fellows, tens, 20s, hundreds of fellows all over the country, think about how many more children can be able to
Absolutely.
receive music therapy services and be able to utilize this incredible instrument for their healing. And and then the organization is helping to expand the field of music therapy and helping really train music therapists, whether they're fresh out of internship, or maybe they've been working for a while but maybe in a different population.
How
And
long has music therapy been around? Because as you're talking, I'm like, I'm not sure that when I was younger, I knew there was such a thing as music therapy. How old is music therapy?
so music therapy really started after World War II. So when soldiers were coming back from war, especially with a lot of PTSD, musicians started being specially trained to work with these different soldiers and these patients. And then, of course, training programs kind of came about. And then, of course, it became an actual profession and degree. So I think it kind of officially became a profession in 1950.
Wow. Wow.
So it's been around.
Bite your tongue, woman. She's giving away our ages here. Okay, so we have kept you guys here a long time and we truly appreciate that. But before I let you go, Stephanie, where do you see yourself? What do you want to accomplish? Like 5 years from now, where are you?
Oh, good question.
Ooh, well, 5 years from now, I see the organization as being able to expand services, so expanding music therapy services to, not only in existing hospitals, but to new hospitals as well. I would love to be able to start music therapy programs in pediatric hospitals
Make it
through the Ukulele Kids Club, and being able to work with these hospitals to build a sustainable program. That's something that I'm really passionate about after starting and building my program, and actually working and consulting with a few other hospitals to get their programs started as well. That's an area that I feel very passionate about, is building a sustainable music therapy program and growing program as well. Being able to provide services not only for children in the hospital, but providing resources and for when they go home too. So being able to have maybe groups, ukulele groups at these hospitals where we're working. Obviously it can't happen right now in COVID times, but maybe being able to do virtual groups, being able to offer virtual, telehealth music therapy, or, in ukulele groups, ukulele lessons.
That's an amazing idea. Studies show that while people are actually together and doing the therapy or doing the music, that they're very engaged, that they do have higher energy. And then as they spend time away from the person, in this case would be you or the therapist, that kind of wanes a little bit. So the follow-up after they get out, I think is super duper important to maintain. People heal better when they're happy or balanced or yeah. So now we want to know the same thing from Mr. Corey. Where do you see yourself in 5 years and what are you doing, young man?
What was the question? No, I'm kidding. I got it.
What a wise guy.
He sees himself on a beach.
Don't put words in. Yeah,
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm following Stephanie. So when she takes this organization to the moon and back, I'm going to be right there with her, drumming up some more friends, helping fund this great organization. And the most important thing we do, honestly, is we have a lot of fun. We got a lot of rock stars in this organization, and they're not
sure
all
do.
musicians. You know what I mean?
I do.
So
I do.
I just want to continue to have fun, and it's all about that. And helping kids like this, what could be better than this?
You guys are both absolutely amazing. And like I said, I see an only upward trajectory for this and for both of you. So oh wait, before you go, tell people upcoming. Oh, Deb.
Glasses.
We have upcoming events. Right, UKC Academy.
February 1st.
Where?
That's the UKC Academy in Ashley, Orlando.
Ashley, Orlando. Okay, and then on March 2nd.
That looks like fun. Learn some favorite Disney tunes.
Okay, so they're all UKC Academy. Are they all in Ash?
No,
Ashley
who's Ashley Orlando?
So Ashley Orlando is a ukulele player and teacher from Houston. So she'll be.
we thought it was in Orlando, Florida.
Her name is Orlando.
What do we know?
I have a girlfriend who lives in Orlando. I'm like, Ashley Orlando, what is that? Oh, Ashley Orlando, we are
That's
so
Tony Orlando's
sorry.
granddaughter. Remember Tony Orlando?
Yeah.
That's his great granddaughter. No, I'm kidding. No.
Oh, I was going to say, see, I am so gullible. All right, so she is doing Monday the 1st.
Yeah, she's doing Disney.
And the 2nd in March and the 10th. Right? Oh, no.
Well, she's not.
Yeah. Neil Chin, Chris Millett.
April 10th and March 2nd.
Okay.
You know what? We have all of these friends. We have people from Broadway that have joined UKC Broadway. So we have all of these events that go on our social media, and there's a
How
schedule
can
there.
people get a hold of you? How can people
Where do they
find all
go?
this out and all this good stuff?
Well, what do you got, Steph? How do they find us?
So, so really anywhere, any of our social media outlets, Facebook, Instagram, are kind of our most up to date of everything that's going on, as well as the website, of course, the ukc.org. And speaking of UKC Broadway, it has not been published yet because we are just planning it now. But we will be having a UKC Broadway cabaret at the end of March. That's going to be a fundraiser and is going to feature some absolutely incredible Broadway artists. So make sure that you're watching social media so that you can get all the information and everything on that is coming, which we're really excited about.
So where are you holding these? If it's
They're all
not in
virtual.
Ashley or Orlando, no. Where are you holding these?
They're all virtual. All virtual now.
Oh,
just
they
like
are all virtual. Okay.
Oh, oh.
Yep. So for
Very
all
nice.
of the UKC academies, you
Uh-huh.
can, if you go, they're on our website and then also on our social media. There are links to the Eventbrite registration, so that then you get the Zoom link.
Okay.
And all of that are live on Zoom.
Oh, very cool. And I also read that people can sign up for your newsletter, right?
Yes.
And that way they would get something, they'd get an email saying
Yep.
when all this stuff was coming up, correct?
Yes.
correct.
Very cool. Very cool. So it's ukc.com. What's the link? What's
It's
The
name?
THEUKC.org.
.org.
That's easy.
Okay, easy enough to remember. And we want to thank the both of you from the bottom of my heart. I actually,
Oh,
you
thank you.
and Southern New Hampshire Ukulele Group, to me, they're like family.
Hey, Joan,
Absolutely.
first of all, we want to thank you. Could I ask you guys for a big favor?
Of course.
So I haven't heard Stephanie play and sing in a
Oh,
while.
yes,
I
absolutely.
want to give her no more than 2 hours.
2 hours, 2 hours. Okay, so
We got-
we're going to listen to Stephanie play and we can end like that. That would be perfect. Would
Perfect.
you mind, Stephanie?
Oh, not at all. Let's
Thank
see.
you, Corey. Thank you for reminding me. That's awesome.
I have it. So in case anyone is interested, this is what the UKC ukuleles look like. They are a beautiful mahogany and they have these incredible colored strings that are all donated by Aquila,
Nice.
which, and they have, it says, yeah, Ukulele Kids Club on the top.
Oh,
And to these colored strings, they're really cute and they're really pretty. But also they make teaching and learning the ukulele so much easier because you don't have to say, okay, we're gonna go on the the fourth string on the third fret. You can just say blue 3. Okay.
I
I got one of
was
those.
just going to say, I need one of those.
Me too.
Yeah.
So Ukulele Kids Club has a marketplace, right?
Yeah.
I saw that. And I,
Actually, so all of these, so all of our ukuleles are made by Cloud Music over in, it's a family-owned company. And there's Ivy Wench, who is absolutely most beautiful person inside and out.
nice.
And actually, if any of the UKC ukuleles that are purchased, she then donates one back to the organization.
That is fantastic. Fantastic. Like attracts like. So see, fantastic attracts fantastic. I like it. It's all yours, Miss Stephanie.
All right, let's see. Should we do the UKC theme song?
I love it.
We have our own theme song. Can you believe it?
I do. I do believe it.
We do.
It was written by one of our board members, Jay Lichty.
I saw that. I saw that somewhere.
Sorry.
Okay.
All right. You're gonna have to edit this part out because I need to tune this real quick.
You go right ahead. You go right ahead. I have to tune mine all the time, and I have to use the tuner to do it. Some people do it by ear. I need my tuner.
It's always the E string that goes out.
Good. I'm glad to hear that because my E string always goes out also. I'm like, what's wrong with this?
My E string all the time.
She has no idea what her E string is. Trust me.
There we go. That's
Hey,
better.
listen, you guys, before we go, thank you so much for allowing
You
us to
are
come on
so
the show.
welcome. Thank you.
You're
This
so
was totally
good.
enjoyable. This is like the fastest hour I think we've ever had.
Yeah.
So good.
All right. La 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 got a ukulele now. I think that maybe I could sing a song for you. Started with a smile and stayed there for a while until I think of something new. I'm in the Ukulele Kids Club where ukulele means love and music makes me feel okay. So let's sing a song and share a little love today. La 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 la. We are the Ukulele Kids Club where ukulele means love and music helps you feel okay. So let's sing a song and share a little hope today. So let's sing a song and share a little hope today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you for having us.
You are so welcome. You guys are already legendary, so I don't have to tell you, be legendary. Thank you,
Thank
Thank
guys.
you guys. Love you.
Love you too.
See you, Stephanie.
Namaste.
Bye.
Bye.